ba ba da da ba ba. And here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Good morning. This is the finest Tuesday, March 31st, that I've seen this whole year. So I'm excited to be here for day 2 of the daily mograph check-in. We're not talking about 3D character animation today, unless somebody decides they want to. If they just, if somebody's like, hey, can you talk about blank? I'm easily swayed. What can I say? So here I am in a room in my basement where the work from home situation is just top quality. So I'm excited though, because we're going to be doing some stuff with this shot, which, I suppose I could have hidden the name of the client, but I think it's actually, we're safe at this point to be able to show some of this stuff. I am only going to be talking about this couple of shots though. I won't go into the entire piece just yet, because I don't know how far along some of this tech is. But this is for a major cell phone creator company, I believe, and they are talking about how their 5G devices are just really fast, and they don't use as much power. So this is a power saving animation. So I do want to call out the designers who were amazing on this. I contacted Nuria Boch, I want to say is how you pronounce her last name, and she's done work for Ordinary Folk and for School of Motion, maybe. I'm not sure about that one actually, but lots of great work on her site. And then we hired Megan Pelto out of LA. So she did the kind of finished illustration work here, and then I did the animation on these few shots here. So what are we looking at? Thank you, autosave. You saved my life. This is a project that delivered weeks ago, but you saved it. All right, so definitely have a lot going on here. It feels simple, right? It looks simple, but there's actually a lot of complicated stuff. Well, why is that? That looks real weird when I did that. Okay. So let's first talk about this turn. I don't love that when I'm scrolling like that or scrubbing, it's just stuttering instead of showing me the actual thing. Let me see if I can change that real quick. I'll just go to adaptive resolution briefly. No, it still is doing it. That's really weird. All right, well, let's turn the resolution down. Oh, that doesn't help. I think it did do something with the cache, but whatever. So you can see lots and lots of nulls here, and you can see these paths, and they're kind of going back in 3D space. But then when we turn the entire scene, I'm just gonna go frame by frame here. I tried fast travel. It was like, it only worked when I went down in resolution, and then it was like it looked like butt. So, all right, check it out. As we turn, you can see these squares are becoming straight lines, but we're continuing that path animation on those circles that are following it. And then the eye shapes combine into, so they go from 2 eyes that we're looking at straight on to, so like watch the paths on like the shape animation here, to just the 1 eye. So the way I did that was, you can actually see on the bottom right there, that's a Duic controller. So I've got the paths, I wonder if it'll show if yeah. It looks like that one switched out already. So we had an original eye, and then I had the second eye switch in right there. And so you can see that's the one that's animating here. So I just did my best on that second eye to get it as close as I could to that oval shape for the first part of that Duic controller. So you make a keyframe with that kind of the oval shape, and you make a second keyframe at the finished shape over here, and then you connect those to that controller. So joysticks and sliders does the same thing. You just set 2 keyframes for those paths, and then same thing with the position. You know, I basically put everything on that controller for that whole turn animation. So one single controller, you can put all of these path shapes and these eyes positions and everything, and that's what this controller is doing. It's basically turning the whole camera. So boy, I wish this would go faster. You know what it is? It's probably because I'm streaming. My computer is deciding to just be oh, you know what? Those weren't on the controller. The position wasn't. So I must have animated the position of the eyes separately. But now I'm completely screwing it up. So let me just undo a few times. Okay. So let me maybe, I don't know how simple or dense we're gonna get with this, since yesterday I figured I was gonna get through a whole bunch and I only got through a very, very little bit. But let's just maybe talk about some of this path animation stuff. We're gonna try to recreate this from scratch. Let's make a new comp. 1920 by 1080 at 12 frames per second is perfect. Let's make it 24 though, just for the sake of this, and then we'll call it path shape comp. All right, and then let's make a cool background. I think having this nice blue background is very nice, so let's just do that. Hold on a moment. All right, and now let's make ourselves and then I'm going to put the infamous not infamous, the really well respected, I should say, stroke width expression on it, which keeps the stroke width wherever it is when you start. So let's make it like this. I'm just gonna center it to the middle of the comp real quick, and let's give it like a good, let's just make it an even 30. Okay, and then we have a stroke width expression that we're going to use here. Rectangle path is probably fine. I don't know if we need to have it as a Bezier path. Okay, and then we are going to keep these thick corners. We're not, or these mitered corners. We're not going to do the rounded butt corners. Is that what they're called? I don't know. So there's an expression for stroke width that many of you probably already know. But if you don't know it, it's on Battle Axe's website for his stroke width. And he actually, this is Adam Pluff we're talking about. There were 2 different stroke expressions for a while where it's like, okay, well, if I just want to make my shape bigger, but I don't want my stroke width to get huge when the shape gets closer, I just want the stroke width to stay the same. How do I keep it the same width, right? And actually, now that I'm saying it and I'm I'm explaining it, I'm realizing I don't want that, because as you can see, as these are getting smaller, the strokes are getting smaller too. And I think that's what we need, so that these balls that are kind of traveling along the stroke will stay the same size too. Because if they'll stay the width of the stroke. So I'm realizing I don't want to do that. But let's talk about stroke width expression just for a moment. Anyway, since I started that. Okay. I'm going to put the link to this stroke width expression from Battle Axe's website right here in chat, so you guys can bookmark that. He does talk about it, and I don't quite understand everything. It has to do with the form factor, or the scale factor of your actual comp. But if you just want the expression itself, this is what you put inside of your stroke width. Just grab that and put it inside of your stroke width. Let's call that the background. We're going to call this the first square. How is everybody doing today? I need some interaction in my life. So under stroke width, we just tap that Alt key, and then we're gonna use that length to comp. And what it's doing is it's taking whatever stroke width you've set there, and it's going to keep it that way no matter what size the the square gets. All right, so that's a really great expression if you've got lots of things that you're kind of like moving, and that grid layer system that Ordinary Folk just put out a few days ago. That's really helpful to have this expression for it. So I'm not going to use it today. I'm not going to use it today. I actually need it to be. I just need it to be this width, and I'm going to lock down this background so I don't keep clicking that. Okay, so now when I get bigger or smaller, the stroke will actually get bigger or smaller with it. Actually, let's make this a little thinner too. Okay, so we've got these other things going on too. And let's make this more of like a deep blue instead of a black. Right in there, it's probably good. Maybe a little bit higher. Okay. All right, so we got these other shapes and stuff going on. We got this nice little orange shape, and we got these little light blues and darks and stuff. Let's add a few of those, but first I want to do a trace path from the create nulls from paths script. Okay, so if you have this, it's free, but if there's a create nulls from paths. I think it comes just built into After Effects. Now that I'm mentioning that. Hey, what's up, RC? Nice to see you. All right, so we grab the path here. We got to make sure you've selected the path, and then we got to click this trace path. Oh, no paths are selected, so maybe I do need to make this a Bezier. So let's do a right click to convert to Bezier, and then we'll grab the path right here. We'll do a trace path expression. So what happened? What happened here? Well, it has to do with the position of the original path. So for some reason, whenever I made the path, it was over there somewhere. So here's what we have to do. We're going to go back. We're not going to do the trace path anymore. We're going to go back so that the transform position is back to where it was. All right. So now if I move the rectangle, so this is under the transform rectangle 1. Now if I move the whole thing, the transform position is back down to 0. So kind of a pain if you're in the middle of a project and you don't have time to reposition everything, but inside of this transform rectangle, not the transform of the actual layer itself, which is what I just moved. But whenever you double click a shape layer like this, you'll get like you're inside of the shape layer. That's what we're talking about. That needs to be 0. And then when you do the trace path, it should go right onto the path. So you can see that little layer is on there. And so it's going to just kind of keep looping and looping and looping. All right. And so you can extend this. You can make it go longer. That's exactly what I need, though. I'm going to have just one of those for now. And I'm going to make a little circle that is the color of what we were just looking at. Let's make it like a nice kind of orange maybe. And we are going to get a little precious with this. Let's get close. Want it to be nice and right on that line. Okay. Okie dokie. Yahoo! Okay, we're going to call this yellow circle. Let's also change the color of the layer so we know what it is. And then let's just parent it to that trace path. And then we got to just go to the position coordinates. And I believe it's just 0 and 0 because, yeah, so the nulls that they make for these trace paths actually, they zero out right on the actual corner. So you can just do 0, 0. So now we've got this nice little dude going around in circles. Very nice. And then let's do another trace path. And we're going to just kind of offset it. by a bit. And then we'll change the color of this guy to, I don't know, like a darker blue. A lighter blue. Okay, and then that's not right. Okay, blue circle. So we've offset the trace path, and we've parented this to the second trace path. So let's just zero it out again. 0, 0. Now we got two guys going around and around. Let's do another trace path. We'll take that first one again. Let's reverse the progress keyframes here. Time reverse keyframes. And let's make it go about twice as long in the other direction. Great. Just duplicate this blue circle again, and we'll make this like a, I don't know, let's go back to that. See, this is where I'm not a very good design. Let's do like a cyan. That's what we need. Perfect. Right in there. And then we'll use that third trace path that we just made. Zero it out. Get them dots in there. Oh, you love the Santa Claus scene. Behind the scene was cool. What was the funniest thing about the project? Oh my gosh. Well, I'll talk about that. Thank you for the question. So that's the kind of stuff I love to see. All right, so we've got, let me just let that run while I'm talking about this. So we got one going in the opposite direction. That's slower, and we got the two going in forward that are faster. So then you just kind of repeat this going back in space. We are going to do another quick trick on this though, using set mats just to kind of make it more interesting. But Mary, let me talk about that the Santa Claus animation. So Ivy was fantastic to work with, of course, but so. One funny thing about that project was the acting that I had to do in order to animate that Santa. I would have to, before I started animating, I had to, or at least I made myself, this is just to make it easier for me, but I acted out all of Santa's lines using the VO that they sent me, and and I was going ho, 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 like on my webcam, just like this in my basement, and I would send those for approval before I would animate, and then I would use that for reference for all of the animation. So that was funny. And then also Nate, who was the writer and the director for all of those, Nate Cochran. Many funny things about him, but two funny things that I'll mention right now. One is that he has an avatar for his Slack channel that's like one of those old person filters. So I literally thought the whole time I was working with them that he was this older gentleman who worked with IV as a writer who had been in the industry for a really long time. I actually thought he had just been like, they hired him on. He's like an old cartoon writer or something. It's like you never know with people in Slack. But he had this old person avatar, and I really actually thought he was just this like seasoned veteran of the industry that I was working with. But he's a young man. That's one funny thing. But also he did many of the voices. I think he did Santa's voice. He did the reindeer's voice. He did Grumble the elf. So the little character who's like, no, he did all those voices. So that's my quick little anecdote about the Santa Claus animations. Really, really fun time on those. All right, let me do two more things here. What I have to do is actually take this first square, and I'm going to make a trace path. And this one it'll have square corners, but it'll have rounded edges. But first, let me just make this like a nicer, maybe like a white. And then we're going to do a trim path. Did you know, by the way, that trim paths is just it's built into Motion 3. So if I do this and just click trim, it'll create a trim paths for me right here. So you don't have to go to the add trim paths. You can just click this trim paths button over here in Motion 3. Quick tip. All right, so I'm making a trim path that's just going to be a little bit shorter than the actual line, and it's just going to travel briefly around, like this. This is just extra stuff to sort of plus up this type of animation. Let's do on the stroke, let's change this to a round cap, keep the miter join, and then we're going to animate this stuff. So let's do start, end, and offset. I think 3 seconds is good. We'll just offset it like this. And then the end's going to start at 0. Then it's going to go up to that 25. And then we're going to animate the start up to 25. Is that right? Yeah. Right? So if you want the direction to go the other way, just click this little path button and it'll go the other direction. I'm going to give this a little bit of easing. Not very much. Feel like that might be a little slow on that offset animation, so let's just do this. Okay. And I think we need one more. We're going to go the other way, though. And we're going to animate the offset. Let's see. We're going to make the offset go from like here. Oh, I don't have anything on there. Okay, hold on. Yeah, from like here to there. Zero percent to 12% to back to 0. Not back to 0, but you get it. Okay. Now we got a couple of lines going. And then really these need to keep repeating, right? So how do you do that? You can kind of, there's a couple ways. I think what I'm going to do is I'll just make these loop starting like right here. Making sure there's keyframes on both ends of all of these keyframes, and then I'm going to just use a loop expression. Loop out. Whoa. Cycle. This is another thing that you probably could just have a little button for. I don't do that though. I just kind of do this because it takes about the same amount of time. Sometimes adding expressions with K-bar takes longer than it takes for me to just do this real quick. Thank you, autosave. All right, so now it's looping. And I can actually adjust both of these however I see fit, and I can add more. Okay. All right, you get the idea. Let's do a an expression. No, let's do that thing where I turn the whole camera. So how do we do that? We're going to add a connector using Duik. So Duik Basil. Load it. They drastically sped up adding expressions. Oh, really? Well, in that case, you know what? I should spend a good like a full day just setting up a really, really sweet K-bar. Hey, Duik Basil. Why are you taking so long? Oh my goodness. I need to have this also saved in my window workspace here. Let's just call this workspace. I thought I already had all this set up. In fact, I think I do. So let me just switch to JJ workspace here. There we go. All right, connector. Connector? Uh-oh. I just upgraded Duick Basil yesterday. And so things are a little wonky, it seems. Uh-oh. I haven't used this in a little while, so just bear with me here. I'm gonna change this from standard to rookie. All right. Connector, please. Rigging. Connector. Something's wrong, Duduff. Something's wrong. Well, we'll do it by hand. So what we have to do first is make sure that all of these paths that I made, these new trace paths, trim paths, I should say, are connected to this path. So let me do that real quick. Shout out to Blend 2017. I remember there was somebody, this is a quick blend anecdote. Somebody was giving a tip, a quick tip. And I actually still use this quick tip. It's hitting the X button when you need to find where the layer is in your order. So it'll bring it right to the top. If you're like this and you're like, okay, I just need this layer, and I'm like, oh, I can't see it down here. You can press X and it'll bring it up to the top of your layer stack here. Not top of the stack, but it'll move your little slider thing to wherever your layer is. Somebody else in the audience was like, just use you. That was really funny to me. Okay. I use X a lot though. So, okay, so we got this path here. We need to make sure that these paths follow that path. Did I do that? Yes, I did. So we can just copy and paste this exact expression to all of these other ones. Very good. So now whenever we move this path, or say we want to move this one in, these things will follow. And what we're going to do is make this a straight up and down line, right? So let's try it. Let's animate a little bit. We'll start big. Oh no! These trace paths need to also be parented to this first square. So we'll start about right here. Bring it in. Nice and easy here. And then right about here, we'll switch the path to be sideways. And this is how I did most of that first shot. Just bring this one in here. And we're just, I'm eyeballing it. Nothing fancy here. And what's awesome about this is that these things are still following that trace path. So the trace path is following wherever that path leads us. So little weirdness with these corners, like when they become straight, they kind of like turn into blocks. But if you do it it shouldn't be too bad if I did it right. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So here we go. This is what we made. Yeah, so what can we do about that? I feel like maybe we could make a mask, like a mask that covers that. Yeah, right up there. We know it's only going to go to about right there, so maybe we can just mask it off. So I'm going to use a few set mats here. Right there, looks good. We don't need the stroke though. nice and close. And then we need another one, so we're going to go right into this actual shape layer. Okay, and we'll call this the matte. We're going to turn it off, but we do want to use it as a set matte for this shape here for the first square. So we'll go to our effects and presets. Set matte's probably one that I would put on K-bar. Happy Tuesday, Jeff. Any thoughts on creating and thinking up transitions and camera angles for animations? Ooh. Oh my gosh. I'll be honest. I'm not very good at that stuff. So what I'll do a lot of times is I'll sketch in my sketchbook a lot of different ideas and see if I can come up with something that feels like kind of interesting. But almost always I need to rely on an actual designer for the color shifts that happen in transitions, the shape language that happens in transitions. So I can have a cool idea on paper, but actually putting it into execution, I need somebody who can think in design, shapes and language to do that stuff. So it always helps to bring in somebody who knows what they're doing. But also, if you watch a lot of different motion design, you can pick up little things from various people who are doing that, doing cool transitions and stuff. You're just like, wow, I never ever thought to do that. Like the one Ordinary Folk, this might have been Bible Project actually, so this is pre-Ordinary Folk, but still Jorge and his whole team. But this was like that shot where the faces form out of the wiggly lines and then they become the wiggly lines again. It's like I even downloaded the project file from HoldFrame and I still don't understand like how it was done. So what was I doing? Set matte. So we just grab that matte and make sure it's inverted because now what will happen is, it looks terrible. So what I probably have to do as this is animating, and you can set this to be part of the connector. And I wonder if now that I have the keyframes, if I click connector, it'll make a connector for me. It did, but boy, this is different. What the heck is this? I need to go back a version and do it. All right, I'm not going to use Do It Basel 0.2 or whatever until it's fixed. What the heck is this thing? We have a connector, but it doesn't do anything. Oh my word. Textures and properties. I mean, it looks cool. There's a lot of cool stuff here. All right, so get out of here. Get out of here. What did we do? Ugh. All right, let's create a slider. Let's see if this works. Yes. All right. We're going to make that connector. We're going to make that path shape follow the connector. But with that, we're going to also animate this matte, which I want to show just again for a second. We're going to remove the bottom rectangle just so we have the top one here. And as this animates, so from here, we're going to make these linear. We're going to animate this as well. From here to here, so that this always keeps that nice blocky end shape. This is going to animate with that. So just like in joysticks and sliders, you can use these Do It connectors. I have a whole Instagram video on how to do this, but basically you grab whatever you want, whatever keyframes you want to add to that connector, and then click this Connect to Properties. And so we're at 50% on the connector line, but when we slide it this way and that, you can see that matte is actually following where we put that position. Same with the path shape. So let's just use our position keyframe slider for this position thing. Where do we have it? Right here. We're going to add another one for the other connector, for the other matte, I should say. This needs to be I think the -50 is the full width, and then it goes to +50 for the other side. Yes. Okay. And then we'll add some easing. 66%, 88% on the other side. And then I need to turn this mat off. Now you can see that it starts to shape itself now with that mat coming down. We're going to do another mat on the other side. And since it's already using the connector for these position keyframes, all I have to do is change where those position keyframes are. So we'll do this one down here. This is the starting position for the connector. And then the ending position needs to be also down here, but like right about there where we have that nice miter. Okay. Turn it off. We need to make sure that there's another set mat for that connector, or for that mat there. I think this will work. There's sometimes limitations to these, so we'll do an invert. Looks like it worked just fine. Oh, you know what else we need to do? Set these mats to follow the size of our square. So now when it gets big, we don't have a problem with those mats. All right, so this is what we animated so far. Looking kind of fun. A little bit of UI goodness. Using this connector to make some interesting animations using sliders. And then you can just kind of like keep repeating that over and over again. And that's how we got this. Oh, there's one more set mat in there, and it's with this. So these lines get kind of like that protrude out from the center are also matting these large shapes so that we have a square. There's another square in there that's like a blue square that's has a set mat using that kind of central line there. So that's so that when the eyes open, we have a little bit of a variation in the line colors, and even some of the shape colors I think might change. Oh no. Okay. So we'll let that render. So, other ideas for thinking up transitions and camera angles for animations. Are we talking about like 3D animation? Camera angles for animations. While that's going, I'm gonna get some music going again. Well, okay, we're rendered. So yeah, I just kept repeating that over and over again, and then that's how we did that opening shot there. Nothing too fancy. It's just, you know, it's good design, I would say, which was not what I did. I did not do the design. So thank you, Megan Pelto. Thank you, Nuria Bo, for the amazing designs for this project. I'm wondering what... 2D camera angles. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, for this kind of stuff, it's pretty much just whatever the design calls for, right? And so, like, when we see this, it's definitely, we're looking at it from the front. And then when you turn the whole thing, I'm not even using a camera. Like I showed you, it's just like interesting path animations that look like we're turning a camera. So I wonder how much of this would translate to like a body moving, like a Lottie animation, or if a lot of this stuff like set mats won't work. I have to literally... Yeah, I probably can't use any of these expressions. It'd be so cool if this stuff was just like exported to Lottie, because this is the kind of stuff that would be really fun to have. 60 frames per second animations. Let's see what it looks like in 60. Where's my Control K? Come on, baby. There it is. Let's see what this looks like at 60 frames per second. Oh yeah. So buttery smooth. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any good advice about transitions and camera angles for animations. But okay, well, what else could we talk about here? I've got about 20 minutes before I have to really kick it into gear for some client work. Let's go through some of this stuff and see if there's anything else that's interesting. This was kind of a cool shot. Let me render this out. Yeah, I can talk about this. So I'm going to render this out, and then I'll talk about how some of the stuff that can be done. So these balls, I guess, were also trace paths, but there's other ways to do like particles along a line like that. When would I choose rigging over frame by frame? Usually when the budget is not high enough for frame by frame is when we would choose rigging. You know, you really cannot achieve, at least I can't. Here's what I would have to say about rigging characters. There are some people who are so good at making their rigged characters look like frame by frame. And I think it's because they literally are going frame by frame and actually changing shapes and stuff to get you know, to get just a better quality of animation. So a lot of times what you'll think is like, oh, well, I got this rigged character, this is all I can use. You know, you move them and get as smooth as you can, and then there's still just a few spots where it's like the arm just feels stiff when it moves from here to here or something, or you don't have as wide of a range of motion or whatever as you can get in a 2D or like a hand animated frame by frame character. But some people, so they'll literally frame by frame, you know, the arm shape just for certain parts, and then they'll go back to the rig. So it's like thinking about how you can really stretch a rigged character is actually kind of cool and something I'm trying to get better at. And we're talking about After Effects rigging now, not Cinema 4D rigging. But so here I'm just using the same method of tracing the paths for these large circles on these circles that are sort of going towards the center there. Trace paths is great right here. Create nulls from paths. Trace path. But then I also had to animate, as it's going towards the center there, I had to animate the scale so that it looked like they're going back in space. This is a fun shot. Let's see. Let's go to one of the rigged characters for this project. I did a new shot for the opening. Yeah, this shot. Where is it? This is not very... Here we go. So I'm going to render this one out so you can see this. Hey, thank you. We had to switch the skin color and the hair shapes but I really loved. I wish I could show you while that's rendering. Like this, look at this hair shot. This is all Nuria from. She's from England or from Scotland, maybe. She lives there now, but I think she's Spanish. But she's such a good designer. And then Megan Pelto. No, actually, this one was Nuria's finished design. But yeah, I had to think through, you know, how are we gonna rig this hand, and this you know, for this shot we're gonna have a little bit of hand movement here, but mostly right here as she lifts her hand up. I almost did this shot by hand, and Zach was there. If you're still here, he remembers when I was doing that shot by hand. So we're rendering here, but you might be able to see as it goes. We'll show the whole shot, and then I'll show the hand rig that I made, and then we'll call it a day for today. But when we talk about cell animation, I'm gonna probably do a little bit of work on what I was going to do on this, which was hand animate her sitting down, picking up the pillow, settling into place, and then pulling up her phone. It was a really, like, it was going to take a long time, more time than we had budget for on the project. So I was not able to actually finish out the hand animation for that. But here we go. Let's watch this. Bloop. So you can kind of see like some of the interesting stuff that's going on mograph wise in the background here. So like this is just a single shape that I have connected to, like, the points are following nulls, and then the nulls are attached, they're like parented to the outer edges of this box. So that's kind of some fun stuff that I really got to play around with here. A lot of set mat stuff going on. Bloop. All right, let's look at that hand rig. There's another connector. I probably used that for her face turn there. Where's her hand? Okay, so some of the stuff that's happening here that's a little bit crazy, you can sort of see it here. We've got these shadows that are appearing on the edges of the fingers as they cross over, only when they cross over the hand here. So you can see it's here on this pinky, but when she brings it up, like that other pinky or the ring finger, those shadow lines go away. This is the kind of stuff that when you're rigging hands using like layers like this, it actually makes it kind of simple to do. So let's just show how we did that. Here's our pinky. And then we've got these pinky shadows. So how are we doing that? Basically, it's just the pinky again. So the pinky 3. Let me turn off this effect, the set matte effect, so you can actually see what's going on. I think I have 2 shadows because of the distance between some of these fingers. It needed to have one up here and down here, but pinky 3, which one is pinky 3? Is it the top one? Yeah, okay, so right here is our third pinky phalange or whatever, like knuckle. Then pinky 2 is that middle one, and then pinky 1 is this kind of starter one. So we've got pinky 1, 2, and 3. Each of those lengths needed to have a shadow that was basically the same layer, just a different color. You can see the color right here. It goes to this blue, but it follows whatever that phalange was. So with pinky 3, we've got shadow 1 and 2, which are the same as pinky 3. You can see it right there. And it literally is just the same thing. I just moved it a little bit. And then it just follows the pinky. But we have a set mat on it, which is, you know, for the... Hey, what's up, Lucas? Thanks for joining for a little bit. I'm actually going to be done here in about 10 minutes, but I'm talking about how we did some of this finger rigging with shadows. So a little bit of trickery with rigged character animation in After Effects. So yeah, these are both copies of the same pinky phalange, just a different color. And then we have set mats that are using the ring finger, so the next finger up, as the mat. So you put a set mat on there, and then make sure it's alpha channeled. And then I have this set to the ring finger number 3. So you just look at what your animation calls for. There's ring finger 3. We'll turn on all of these, actually. Oops. Ring, and also ring 2, because it crosses over ring 2 at some point. So let's just turn on ring 2. So anytime this pinky now travels across that ring finger, you get a little bit of a stroke for that. Hey, thanks for that. Thanks for the follow. You get a little bit of stroke there that kind of crosses over the pinky, and so it separates out the fingers a little bit for you. So that's a quick tip for making fingertips show up against the fingers next to them. Could have probably done that a little bit here, so when the fingers cross over this hand, it would be kind of nice to have another copy of that hand right here, just like a little bit of a shadow there. Boy, that would be tough. That would be very tough to do. But it's a challenge, right? And that's like that's what makes this fun. You know, this job, doing 2D and 3D motion design, and especially being a generalist, one of the fun things about it is seeing problems like that, knowing it's going to plus up the animation, it's going to make it even better, and then you have to, you think for a while, you sit and you kind of ponder about how am I going to solve that problem, and then you go for a run or something, and then you come back and you realize, oh, all I have to do is, you know, let's see if I can do something quick and dirty here. This is the quickest, dirtiest, ugliest shadow I will have ever created. But let's put a couple things on it. So let's put a blur. A blur? Let's just do it. First idea, best idea, right? We'll give it like a 10 pixel blur, nothing much. We'll call this the hand shadow. We're gonna have this following that left hand. This will be the last thing I do, and then I'll get off of here. Alright, so it is behind the hand. That's very good. But we're gonna have this set mat to whatever this is. This thumb layer. What is this? The right thumb 3. And then we'll do another one. That's right thumb 2. Oh, it needs to follow the... Where is that? Left wrist. Probably this palm. Uh-oh. What is this layer? See, I just did it. I pressed X. Mograph Slack channel. Well, you know what, though? I am going to be putting together these... if you're just joining and it's the end of the stream, I am going to be putting together just a compilation of this stuff. I'll edit it down so it's a more digestible, quick tip type thing. So it's thumb 1, thumb 2, and thumb 3. That the hand shadow needs to be. Where did I put the hand shadow? Here it is. And thumb 1. It's still not showing though. Invert matte? I don't know. Anyway, it didn't work. What I just did didn't work. So I probably just have a weird layer order thing going on. Or maybe set matte doesn't work that many times after a Gaussian blur, but doesn't matter. The whole point of what I was saying was that that's what makes this job fun. You can think through solutions for interesting animation problems like that, which if all you do is character animation, or if all you do is and I'm talking like the high-end stuff, you're sitting with Maya all day long, or you're sitting with a single job all day long, you're not necessarily, you don't have the same attitude about what let's figure this out, let's fix this one thing to make the animation even that much better. I think that's something that when you're a motion designer in 2D and 3D, you are always thinking through that kind of stuff, and you're looking for solutions to design problems. It's just kind of part of your nature, right? So anyway, I think that's it for today. I'll be back again tomorrow, and I think I'm going to be talking about cell animation frame by frame. So I might do it on an iPad, I might do it in Photoshop, and I'm not even sure what I'm going to work on. Even this morning, I wasn't sure what I was going to work on, but I'm happy to have had this project just recently came out of an NDA, so I'm able to share some of the inner workings of it. So, hey, thanks so much for coming today. I appreciate it. You guys were great. Hope you have a great Tuesday. If you're doing client work, good luck with that, especially if you're working from home. I am working from home on some client work, and I've got 3 kids upstairs. I hear them all day long, but that's just how life is right now, right? So have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.